All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given, joined as always by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
TJ, it has been a 4-day weekend for me in
Ooh.
which Friday went hard at the Eagles Super Bowl parade. By the way, guys, in case you were wondering, the Eagles did win the Super Bowl. Just a reminder for anyone out there who was wondering. But yeah, and then the last 3 days of just recovery from this past week. So I'm like exhausted of resting, if that makes sense, TJ. Like, and also I've been struggling so hard of like just writer's block. Like I haven't made a TikTok in like a week. And it is honestly, it's partially just personal life. You know, I've just been busy with other things in personal life this week, but also it's just so much. It just feels like everything that I could write about doesn't fucking matter. And every time I start writing something, I'm like, who gives a shit about this? We're getting taken over by fascists. Did you see that fucking tweet from Trump? That really just like destroyed me when he was like, what was it?
He who saves his country does not violate the law, I think.
Exactly. And that broke me when I saw it, because I was just like, guys, this is the most overtly of a man who has done many overtly authoritarian things. I could not imagine anything more than, hey guys, we're Nazis now, than that quote. And the scariest part about it is I know Trump didn't come up with it.
I was right about to say that. Who do you think did?
I don't know who did. I also like it. It sounds like something Elon would say.
Yes.
Like it sounds like one of those quotes that Elon thinks is cool, but like doesn't actually understand fundamentally. Yeah. So I'm gonna guess that. But like, here's the thing: Trump used to give his, like when he was president last time, he gave his socials to a team.
Yeah.
And you could very clearly tell when that team was tweeting,
right,
and when Donald Trump was tweeting. I haven't seen not Donald Trump tweets in a little bit.
Yeah,
that was the first one I've seen recently where it's like, that wasn't written by Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It actually does worry me who wrote that and why it got tweeted.
It did sound Elon-esque. It sounded like Elon. Elon is like a ninth grader, you know, like
Vance. It's Elon or Vance.
Vance too. Yeah, Vance, because man, but Vance is smarter than Elon. I don't know, but Elon does like stuff that sounds like from an old timey Latin orator or something like that from Rome. Yeah, he loves that shit, and that sounds like something you'd see on a meme or something. Like, we're gonna get the demon rats, and he who saves his country does not break any law. It sounds very, very fascist and lame and corny, and so I didn't think Trump came with that either. But the White House did retweet it with that funny, that new, I call them command photos. That's not the right photo for like not in the military, but the Trump's official portrait, like his photo that for the White House and everything, where he's scowling and everything, looking down, just like I know. And they tweeted it right alongside that photo. Okay, well, and you're right. It is difficult to talk about any topic. I don't think, well, for me, it's not necessarily because like, well, what does this matter? It's overwhelming. It's just that the stories get old so quick because every day there's something worse than you heard yesterday. And if you don't pounce on it immediately, it's hard to work up the energy to discuss it.
I think that, and this is getting, into the weeds, but I know that some of our audience appreciates that. But like, I think I'm going to just start untopicalizing as much of my content as I can, because we got this show. You know, I get plenty of my takes on current events off in this show. And I also have threads that I just shoot off the more topical stuff. I think if I try to make my content topical, I'm going to drive myself crazy because of what you just said. By the time I'm done, and again, it's not like we're creating, documentaries here. It takes me a couple hours max to make a TikTok video. But like by time I go from done writing it to shooting it, it's like, oh shit, something else is crazy and important now. And it's impossible to follow. It really is. It's one of the more concerning things because I don't know how to combat that. If I'm feeling that way, what must the average American be feeling? What are people actually paying attention to? I don't know.
Yeah, I used to always be annoyed when I heard people say that they were checking out of politics, but I get it now. Like, I really do. I remember hearing someone a while ago talking about how, how you would read about medieval peasants. I remember seeing this in history books. I saw it so many times that it made me laugh, where the peasants would revolt. The peasants thought that the Lord was mistreating them. They would storm, the Lord's castle with pitchforks and torches and everything. And without fail, this is how it went. They would storm it if they successfully overran the forces or whatever. And they say, okay, well, what do you want? And the peasant said, we need to petition the king. The king doesn't realize how bad the lords are treating us. The king doesn't know. And I'm sure the king will be on our side. I couldn't believe how often this happened. But looking back on it, like the medieval peasantry of Europe, they knew they had no power, but they also had no clue what was going on in the chambers of power. They didn't know what the princes and nobles and dukes were talking about, or treaties they were forming, or how to raise armies or levy taxes. They didn't know. They just realized that their lives were shitty and they could ask for help. We're in a worst of both worlds where where we do know what's going on. We see it on our phones and our TVs every single day with, relatively similar amounts of power that medieval peasants had. And it's like, well, that actually might be preferable if you don't know what's going on, if you can't control it anyway.
I was talking to a friend of mine, TJ, and they said to me, one of the most painful sentences I've ever heard, where they were like, I don't know how to get through any of this, John. At least you have a little semblance of power with your platform and can actually do something about this. And I was like, fuck no. I wish I did not have this. I wish I did not, because it doesn't do shit except make me feel like I could do shit if I can just get a little bit better at it. And that's the hope that kills you, TJ. It just utterly is crushing having the smallest modicum of feeling like you can affect something and then not. But then at the same time, like you get the DMs. They're like, hey, you help me with or whatever. Like it is such a confusing experience normally to do what we do, because most people think that we, are famous or whatever. We're not. No, what we do matters diddly shit. What we do in unison with all of the people who come on this show matters slightly more, but still diddly shit.
I know.
the potential to do something is there.
Yeah.
But like right now, we can't affect anything in the world. The people organizing my local progressive fucking get out the vote campaigns and stuff, they have more impact on what actually happens in this world than I do, despite the fact that a lot of people think that we're important. In aggregate, we are, but individually we're not. And it is a hard thing normally, and during times like this, it has really been fucking me up, TJ. Like I know I'm going to get through it, but I'm like, I need to get back on the horse and just keep kicking. But it's difficult. It really is.
Yeah. So you're right. But people get trapped in thinking the way things are today are the way things will always be. And that's part of being human. Your concept of time and your concept of, the grand scale is incredibly limited, even if you try to bring it out. But I try to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I think I've mentioned on the show before that we've been in tougher scrapes than this. Republicans have been in tougher situations than this not that long ago. Like during the Obama administration, when they got waxed, they got absolutely crushed, and twice it happened, and they lost both houses and the presidency. And everyone, including myself, thought, well, wow, Republicans, they got another 30 years before they're competitive. Now they run everything. And all it took was just sticking to it. That I forgot the expression, but it's like consistency is better than excellence or something. If you're just consistently chipping away, which is what we do. Like you mentioned, John, getting the messages, getting those, comments. It's like, hey, you really helped change my mind on this. Like individually, there's not much we can do, but in aggregate, that's that's the human experience. Human beings by ourselves are not impressive at all. Mm-hmm. We're not strong. We're not fast. We're smart. Well, give us that much. We don't got claws or wings or fangs.
Some of us, DJ.
Well, comparatively, you know what? No, yeah. Well, comparatively, the dumbest human is still like incredibly smart compared to most other creatures and everything. But you put us all together and we can do incredible things. We can get to the moon if we work together. And if I try to think of it that way, that we might not see the fruits of this labor for another year or 2 or 5 or 10, but we keep at it. I think it can only give it will definitely be better with us keeping at it than us quitting, like whatever the end result may be.
And that's the personal responsibility mantra that really is correct, when conservatives say it, where, yeah, you just have to control what's in your control, move one step forward every day. That often tends to be misused for bad ulterior motives, but it is very true. At the end of the day, you just got to make it through the day. You got to do what's in your control to do. I was talking. I have two messages for people, because I think it's very important to change what you just said depending on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking to people like us, people on the more progressive side of the aisle, I think that's a very good message, because the worst thing that we can do is slip into doomerism.
Yeah.
However, if you're talking to normies / like liberal moderates, your typical Democrats, and even the fucking people in the Democratic Party, I think that's a bad message, because I agree with you that the Republicans were in a pretty bad scrap in the exact time period that you're talking about. But if I was a normie Republican back then who didn't care all that much, I'd just be like, yeah, we're definitely the pendulum's going to swing back eventually. I don't know when, but it'll happen. We'll be good. It'll be fine. And if we have that mentality where it's like, okay, well, it'll eventually swing back. The difference here is that there's some sort of go, no-go point. I don't know when it's going to be, but like there's a point where the pendulum's no longer going to swing back, and we can't get to that point. I don't think Republicans had any fear of the United States of America fundamentally changing in a way that they could never, ever gain power again back in 2010, 2012, whatever, when we're talking about this. But like, I'm genuinely worried about it. I cannot see the future. It's unbeknownst to me now what could or will happen. Not in the way where it's like, hey, I don't know who's going to be the leader of this party in the next 10 years. Like, I don't know anything that's going to happen in the next 1 year. And that is a terrifying just world to live in. And if the powers that be treat this situation like it's any other situation, like the Republicans treated it back in 2012, I think that we're going to be in trouble.
No, the Republicans did think that, John. Listen, because they absolutely did, but it does kind of coincide with what you just said, though. So I just know, because I was amongst these folks for a long time, and I remember it happening. They did the autopsy. Like they called it an autopsy publicly of the Republican Party. They said we have to reevaluate everything we know. They said that we need to reach out to Hispanic people, which they didn't. I'm not doing. But what you're 100% correct about is they kept working. No, actually, no. I'm saying they're working out of that fear. They never.
You're right. I'm saying you're 100% right.
Yeah.
They totally did that. Like, if you compare what they did to what the Democrats are doing now, totally different things. But in reality, they did it and it worked. But they didn't have the same urgency to do it. Whereas the Democrats have more urgency to do it, and they're not doing it.
I'm saying they would disagree with you. Because they would say that, listen, Barack Obama, there was the Antichrist. Like, this is going to bring about the end of the world, and that the future is going to be taken. This is actually something that I don't know why I do this, because we don't get the same grace from conservatives. But do you remember, what's that group, Moms for Liberty? Moms for Liberty put out a flyer, and there was a quote on the flyer that said, he who controls the minds of the children controls the future. It was from Adolf Hitler. Do you remember that happened? I think it was last year. There was a big, there was a big fuss about it and everything. And they said, wow, these people are quoting Adolf Hitler. Don't you think this should be worrying? And that's, once again, I was amongst these people. They actually didn't mean it the way that liberals said that, oh, they're quoting Hitler as a good guy. No, because I remember they did this all the time when I was a kid. They said, well, look, Hitler was saying that if you control the minds of the future, that you can, or the children, you control the future. And so we can't let people like Hitler control the future. So like, they really were afraid, which is funny, because they are like Hitler. They just don't, consider themselves that way. But like, what we could learn from them is getting active for the boring shit. Like, you got to go to your PTA meetings. You got to go to vote for a school council or school board or city council or aldermen, all state legislators, all the way up. And we're not doing that like the Republicans did. I think they acted with more consistency for decades. They showed up for this boring shit, and it's paid off for them really well.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The one last note on this is that I want to talk a minute. And by the way, this is our Q&A show. It's on a Monday this week.
Yeah.
So through a curveball. Neither of us. All right, I didn't promote it because I've been just.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, until
I texted you.
I forgot about it. I'd forgotten about it too.
Yep.
So I'm glad we're doing this. It's probably going to be another John and TJ chat. But if anyone has any questions that you want us to answer, this is your opportunity to do so. But I did want to speak before we get to the Fort Knox thing. I wanted to speak about the overt evil aesthetics that MAGA and the Republican Party have taken over. Because if you remember back, like when Biden did that, I don't know, it was near the beginning of his presidency, maybe in the first year, when he did that speech in Philadelphia, and it looked like the emperor was speaking. Like it was just like all dark, red banners, Marines standing behind him in silhouette, and it was like that is overtly like Nazi, like just aesthetics. And it was very confusing why they would choose that sort of thing. They learned their lesson and stopped doing that immediately. I didn't see a single other thing like that. But it seems like the Republicans under Trump are getting increasingly, and they have been doing this for a little while, but just leaning into an evil aesthetic, just overtly. It's not even like tongue-in-cheek Simpsons episode, we hate everyone and want you to suffer.
Yeah.
It's like just Trump's photo, he looks mean. He just looks mean. They tweet things like what we talked about in the beginning of the show. He who is improving his country can't break the law. Like they are leaning into the aesthetics of authoritarianism way more than I thought they would. And the fact that hasn't set off alarm bells for more people is genuinely concerning to me. I don't know how concerning I should be about it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Same, yeah.
But the fact that it isn't upsetting more people, the fact that so many people are just like, yeah, I want us to be the bad guys, that concerns me, because I knew what Trump was going to do. I didn't think Americans would so quickly just, we're the bad guys now. Like, it's not even, are we the baddies? It's, we're the bad guys now. And that does concern me.
I think that once, it's hard. I hate saying this shit out loud, but it is what I actually think here is that Republicans have realized something that I think Democrats are slowly coming to this realization, that the only thing that matters in this game is power. That's it. That is the only fucking thing that matters. Like, everything else is a distant second, because if you don't have the power, you can't do anything. And Republicans are like, oh yeah, we're going to flex that. We have the power. So I don't think it's necessarily they're leaning into the evil aspect. It's just that the evil aspect does flash the power a lot, but that's what they get off on. They get off on the fact that, yes, we are in charge. We are your daddy. We're the boss. We make the rules. And I think that goes into what Lovetron just asked here. Why do you guys think the Democratic Party has trouble attracting young men? I think that the aesthetics of the Republican Party fit your dumbass, young man very, very well. Don't think too much about it. Be the alpha. Fuck your feelings. It's exactly what you think when you're 14 years old, or maybe 19 years old. That if you want people coming up to you and saying, hey, this phrase you're using is kind of problematic, and maybe you should check your privilege. Nobody wants to hear that. Least of all, some guy who's 19 years old and trying to figure his life out. And once again, it is tricky to change the language on that, but that's the primary reason that the Republican Party gives very simple answers that are like hilariously specifically coded to what young men desire.
I think that, whenever we talk about a question like this, it's never any one thing. It's a whole modge podge of different factors that are coming together. And I'm trying to think back through my life. I was a young man during the Obama administration into Trump's presidency, and like how it has changed, because it wasn't too long ago that even among like young men, the Republican Party did not have those aesthetics. It did not reach out to them. They were the gerontocracy when I was growing up. Those were the old fucking people that were like totally out of touch. They were hyper conservative on family values, which the way Gen Z has changed with that has been very surprising to me. But at the time, that was not very appealing to young men. Nowadays, it has flipped. The Democrats are the gerontocracy. They're all the fucking old people who are out of touch. And what you're talking about with the simplistic messaging, that's also true. It was kind of like during the late 2010s where you really saw, or mid 2010s, 2010s in general, where you saw that like shift. And I think what Obama did was he took this energy for change and he did a lot. There was a lot of movement on the social side of things. Things that didn't really fucking matter all that much. And obviously things like, gay marriage, equality, that all fucking matters. But like what you said, hey, we're going to stop saying these words now. Nothing against pronouns personally, but like that became a signifier. That became a front-facing issue of the Democratic Party. And it's like, if you're a young man looking at what these two things stand for, one is very much more clearly appealing to you. It doesn't really matter. They're not going to look at the fucking facts. If they're looking at the facts, they'd be voting Democrat, right? But just hey, who is this supposed to appeal to? The Democrats have become the party of the college-educated white
professional managerial class.
The managerial class. That's exactly what it is, and those people suck.
Yeah.
As someone who aspires to be in that class, that and probably will be relatively shortly in my life. Those people suck. Everyone who is those people also agrees with this, that they suck. They're just not fun people to be around. There's a reason for that. There's very clear reasons for that, but it's not very appealing. If you're not in that world, you don't want to be in that world. And it sucks to hear corporate speak. It sucks to hear, they used to call it like social justice speak. I haven't heard that term, like social justice warrior, thrown around, but like, it's not fun. It's not pleasant unless you're like in that life. It's not very appealing. So like, that is a big miss by the Democratic Party because they did not want to lean into economic populism. They did not want to do it. And so this is what we got. It was fucking toxic to a lot of people, young men included. And if they would have leaned into that more militant, anti-rich, Tea Party behavior, that aesthetic, they could have won. Che Guevara would have done great with fucking young men. Joe Biden does not. And that's kind of the issue that we have here.
Yeah. And Lotron says, so how do you guys think we can change that? I think that the messaging doesn't have to be overhauled, but the messaging like shift the fire in a lot of ways. Because if you think about it, this is just for men in general, that if you go to your average man and say, hey, I'm going to give you, two different groups that you can support here. The first one, their entire message is, don't be a pussy, that's their entire message here, and the other one is like, hey, don't be too mean. All right, I don't know. I like the don't be a pussy one. Like that's the one that I'm going with. I want to show like how strong I am and what I can do. But if I'm spending all my time worrying about, what I say and what I wear or about what my hair looks like, that's not going to be, now that can still happen, of course, but that can't be your front facing message, or at least it can't be your only front facing message. Like you need something that's going to galvanize that. And oh, by the way, John, I'm gonna let you get away with this. Like you saying that you aspire to be part of the professional managerial class. You are. What were you talking about? Like this is.
No. I'm saying I am like on track to be part. I'm still grunt worker. But like I'm definitely on that. That is my pathway in life.
All right.
Don't get me. That's where my parents come from. But like you don't get instantly there. They make you wait a couple of years after college.
All right.
You can pretend like you're part of the working class.
Come on.
Then you go into the management.
So that's actually what I'm going is that one thing that I've always been annoyed whenever people, how people will say that we're Republicans or right wingers, like blue collar TikTok has a weird one-sided beef with college TikTok, saying, oh, you guys aren't real men. You guys don't get your hands dirty and everything. I don't know what's up with that, but look, it's unfortunately a reality that a lot of people think that the Democrat, and in a way it's kind of true, the Democrats did say, what did Chuck Schumer say, that for every blue collar worker we lose, we're going to gain two people in the suburbs or something like that, that the message has gone away from, hey, these regular working class people with working class policies that help people in unions. And by the way, whenever people bring this up, because I've heard a lot of people say this, that, well, it's not fair for you to say that the working class abandoned the Democratic Party because what you're saying is white working class. And it's like, no, like working class in every single group. Democrats lost votes this election, some more than others, but they didn't gain in any. So there's obviously a disconnect there between what the Democrats can offer or what they are pledging to offer people who aren't like us, who don't have email jobs and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, that's the reality. And the Democrats are kind of between a rock and a hard place because they can't push too much on the economic stuff because they are capitalists, which is what gives the Republicans an advantage.
Yeah, they need to just decide to put up or shut up, and it unfortunately seems like they're shutting up. That is unfortunately the route they seem to be choosing. Lovetron, by the way, thank you very much. We typically do this show, Lovetron, on Tuesday, so we're always inquiring for people to send us questions because we don't do prep for our Tuesday's show, and we very much hope that people will do it for us. But Lovetron says, honestly, don't be a pussy is a pretty good advice nowadays. There's a lot of pussies, too many. And Lovetron, you could not be more correct. One of the big problems with Democrats is that they can win the don't be a pussy war. Like genuinely, Republicans are the biggest fucking pussies on the planet. Like, it is not hard to show what weak, weird fucking incel crybabies most of these people are. It's not difficult. It's very easy to win a don't be a pussy battle with a Republican most of the time. The problem is that in left-leaning circles, a word like pussy gets pushback from people who don't like that terminology, who like the 2010s Democrats, the people who said that that Bernie Sanders going on Joe Rogan was transphobic. Those kinds of people, and those types of people just need to be jettisoned into the sun. One thing that did very clearly come into picture for me this week was that after the election, there was a lot of talk about who can be the left-wing Joe Rogan. And I think we found him in the past couple weeks here. Mm-hmm. Someone who definitely isn't afraid to say things like "Don't be a pussy." TJ, do you know who I might be talking about right now?
Double B. We talking about the Double B?
We're talking about the Double B. Bill Burr. Bill Burr. He said this recently. I forget where he even said it. I just saw this quote go everywhere. And we've seen like really good politics from Bill Burr in the past.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
Consistently good. Yeah.
But Bill Burr said, if you work a full fucking week and you should be able to pay your fucking rent, you shouldn't have to go and get another fucking job and still be struggling. It's bad for the country because then the kids don't see their parents and they're not getting the upbringing they need. These fucking billionaires, they need to put down like fucking rabid dogs. They're rabid with fucking greed and they're going out and dividing everybody. That message works. Yeah. You want a message that attracts young men? That's going to fucking do it. Historically, that's a very good message for attracting young men. It works just as good as the fascist messaging. And the difference here is that is fucking right. Like they love how many fucking times you get in like an argument about fucking systemic racism or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's the culture. Oh, it's like the parents not being around. They're not fucking around because they got to work 3 fucking jobs. This is all fucking connected. And I think one of the issues with the Democratic messaging in general, because they won't lean into those aesthetics, is that they try to go fully academic when discussing these subjects, and they put the cart before the horse.
Yes, yeah.
They'll say things like white people can't be racist, which when I'm having a conversation with someone else who shares my views, that I can understand that.
Yeah.
I very much understand what you mean by that. But to the average American who racism equals prejudice, and that's it. Well, obviously white people, non-white people can be racist. Like you've met minorities with racial prejudice before. Everyone has. And so when you say something like that before doing the proper education, it turns people away because it's obviously untrue based on their understanding. But what Bill Burr said, fuck the billionaires, they're causing kids to not have parents because the parents are working 3 fucking jobs and can't pay the rent. You don't need education to understand that, TJ.
Right.
You don't need to take a sociology class to understand that. You don't need to read a book. It's just very apparent to everyone in their everyday lives. That's the messaging that can attract people to the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, the people running the Democratic Party don't want to hurt their fucking billionaire buddies.
Well, and the people who rise to power in the Democrats, they tend to be, your soft-spoken or old people. Republicans don't seem to have this problem. Republicans will go with who has the hot hand. Like, you think someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene would ever have a future in the Democratic Party?
Nope.
Like, no.
Not even close.
Which
you know what? Points to the Democratic Party for that.
Well,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, right. But someone with the temperament of Marjorie Taylor Greene would never rise. Like, of course, she'd be smart, if she was on the left or whatever. But that's
probably the closest.
She's the closest, and she's still a mile away from being as antagonistic.
And again,
as
I don't mean that in terms of what she says or I mean just the temperament,
being outspoken and everything.
Anger.
Yeah, and that's something that we need to learn. I mean, I if we don't learn it like now, we are never going to learn it. That the era of decorum and self-deprecation and reservation fucking gone. If you're out there, you can't be saying, well, according to this here spreadsheet, this is going to affect. No, you're trying to take money out from single moms. You're trying to take food from the mouths of children. Fuck you. Like, that's what you got to do. Like, that's going to galvanize people. And like we say all the time, Democrats don't give off the affectation that they're actually fighting for you. It's like they're filing paperwork for you, but they're not willing to go to bat for you. That's why people love Donald Trump, because say what you want about him. Wow, this guy's fighting for what I believe. So I think really your messaging can change a little bit, but your temperament needs to change a lot of it if you want to attract not just more young men, but just more people in general, because there's more than just young men that aren't voting for the Democrats.
What I want to do a the left-wing Joe Rogan tier list. Like I want to do for one of these episodes upcoming. I know we already have one scheduled for this Thursday, but I want to do who are the dudes out there that can appeal to the young male demographic in a very, because there's a couple coming to mind right now, and I think that'd be a good conversation.
So the left-wing Joe Rogan thing. Yeah, I think that more left-wing men, more masculine figure. I've said this a lot. If you're going to a DSA meeting, like, you don't see a lot of guys who like fit the traditional masculine look. I remember noticing that early on, and I think there's a lot of reasons behind that. But I think Joe Rogan has like someone reaching that level of popularity with anything like topics and politics and everything. It's hard to get a left-wing version of that just because your average American, like we say it all the time, how Joe Rogan is a reflection of your average, non-political American in a lot of ways, is that it's pretty damn conservative. It just is. Like, most people's baseline is, if they're not politically active and you just ask them random questions, about the United States. Yeah, it's the greatest country in the world. Sure, the founding fathers were essentially gods and we've done everything right. That's going to be most people's baseline. I think it'd be hard. I guess we can talk about it on the show. What am I doing here? This isn't the show. All right. I wanted to get to this. Okay.
Yes, because I have not heard of this, and I cannot wait for you to tell me about it.
All right. So I saw on the news today, this afternoon, that Elon Musk, our president Elon Musk, wants Doge to look into Fort Knox. Doge is his ridiculous meme acronym for the Department of Government Efficiency. Tech billionaire Elon Musk signaled Monday that he will look into Fort Knox, where the United States has a massive and heavily secured gold reserve. He tweeted on X, looking for the gold at Fort Knox. He also shared a post from Senator Mike Lee on X, in which the senator said he has been denied access to Fort Knox, an Army installation in Kentucky. Who is confirming that the gold wasn't stolen from Fort Knox? Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. That gold is owned by the American public. We want to know if it's still there, Musk said. He was also pushed to look into the reserve by Senator Rand Paul, who said on X, "Nope, let's do it," in response to Musk questioning if the reserve is reviewed annually. Paul told Fox News on Monday that there needs to be more transparency about Fort Knox and what is stored there. So for those of you who don't know, the gold reserves of the United States was stored in Fort Knox. Wow. I think during the Franklin Roosevelt administration. I think that's when we started putting the gold in Fort Knox. And we're no longer on the gold standard. A lot of people think that that's where our, we have the gold because our money is backed by gold. Our money is not backed by gold, but it is a reserve of wealth for the United States. Now, back in the 70s, there was an audit in 1974, because in the 70s is when we started going through, what was it, a stagflation. The economy started dropping. We were losing jobs. Energy prices were going through the roof. So on September 23rd, 1974, the United States gold stock stored at Fort Knox depository was allowed to be entered by members of Congress. There's a video you can find. I'll pull it up here when John responds here, of the only video we have of Fort Knox, and it was 50 years ago. So I am totally on board with auditing the gold at Fort Knox. Sounds like a great idea. Not a big fan of Elon Musk doing it, because I got to say, Elon Musk says, yep, it's all there, folks. Trust me, no one go out there. I'm not taking his word for it. I think his intentions may be a little bit more sinister.
TJ, I would trust the Hamburglar to go into Fort Knox more than I would Elon Musk. It's a hilarious thing. It is one of those things where it's like, hey, we should audit Fort Knox. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm ostensibly okay with auditing Fort Knox. It is one of those. It's also one of those areas where just conspiracy theories can abound, because okay, this is the place where everyone knows we store all of our gold. There's very little documentation of anything that goes on there for obvious security reasons. And so you can just make up whatever you want and it can stick. So I understand why this appeals to MAGA. I understand why Elon Musk wants to get into Fort Knox. Genuinely, I am not even so confident that he would attempt to steal gold from Fort Knox, because all the ways that he can enrich himself with his activities currently probably overshadow the amount of value that is located at Fort Knox. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but it seems pretty apparent to me that as much as I don't buy the we can trust Elon because he's already super rich and why would he want to make more money? That's a dumb argument. But what I do think is a decent argument is there's about 18,000 more ways that Elon Musk can enrich himself off of his current access that are way easier to do than trying to literally steal gold from Fort Knox, something which has, to my knowledge, never been done. So that would be my argument for, I think this is more just Elon Musk wants to give conspiracy fucking flames to Fort Knox and sees this as a win in his fucking Reddit cell brain of his. But I don't know, you're smiling in a way that says I don't agree with you, John.
No, well, all I was thinking is, like, why would you think it's unlikely that Elon Musk would steal gold bars? I don't know.
I'm not like if he was left to his own devices, of course he would. I'm just saying that I imagine even if he was granted access, he wouldn't be given unfettered access, like just to do whatever he wants. Again, it's Fort Knox. Even back in the 70s when they tried to do it, like as you said, like it was very limited in scope. I could be wrong, TJ. I could be wrong. It just seems like of all the ways for him to make money off of this, that seems like such a difficult one, because gold is just physically difficult to steal. Like it is heavy. It is like he would have to like be transporting this somehow with truckloads. Like that would be noticed on fucking satellites. It's not easy to do, TJ.
All right, so a gold bar weighs about 25 pounds. Like it's incredibly heavy, but it's worth like $800,000. Okay, so he wouldn't need to steal very many gold bars to get a pretty good payday out of this. So,
yeah, if he wants to go in there, steal like 20 gold bars, like I'm that's not gonna bother me. That's a rounding error.
It's a rounding error
in fucking like Social Security. Like I'm saying, like enough to actually make me give a shit. I don't think he's gonna be doing that. Would require it would require a level of cohesion that he has not proven capable of, TJ.
All right. So, okay, this is a short little clip that I want to show everyone about. This is the last time that that Fort Knox was inspected by anybody. Oh, is it not? Do you hear that, John?
I don't hear it now.
Oh, shit.
There you go.
Oh, I thought there was. Anyway, I thought there was audio on this, but this is Congress going in. Here we go. So this was in 1974. No one had been in. There are no cameras allowed in Fort Knox whatsoever. But it looks a lot less classy than I expected. Like I expected to look a little bit more neat, but like those bars barely look like they're stacked even or anything like that. But yeah, so stealing it could be an issue. It could be hard, but I wouldn't trust Elon Musk at all to be involved in this. Also, I was at Fort Knox for school in the Army back in 20. Wait, what?
I'm sorry, I just noticed the comments.
Oh, what does it say?
Mark Lauderman said, "What the hell are you guys live?" And you just said, "Mark Lauderman, no, they're just pretending to be live." Good job, you. Good job.
Very deceptive.
But then Mark says I was going to listen to Ben Shapiro on my way home, so you guys better be good. Mark, honestly, that's a compliment, DJ. I'm going to take that as a compliment. That he's going to listen to us instead of Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I guess one fewer person listening to Ben Shapiro is a win. Yeah, I don't know. How do you listen to Ben Shapiro? Like, look, I will gladly admit that as far as right-wing broadcasters go, Ben Shapiro is one of the more talented ones, and he's good at constructing arguments. He's good at thinking quick on his feet, but his voice. He is the worst voice out there. How do you even if I agreed with everything Ben Shapiro said, no chance I could listen to him for an entire show.
It's interesting, TJ, to go. By the way, in case anyone else is wondering besides Mark, this is usually our Tuesday show. We couldn't do it tomorrow, so I would like to say that we made a split-second last-minute call to do it today, and that's why you didn't get any notification about it, but mostly we just forgot.
We just forgot
that we decided to do this, so that's the reason we're live right now. But to circle back to what we're talking about earlier with the masculinity thing, it is very apparent how so many of these especially the talking heads like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder definitely has the traditional masculine thing going for him, but like most of these guys are just fucking nerds. They're
the wafiest fucking smallest dudes you'll ever see.
And so like it is interesting how, and I think this was mostly ignored, but like you kind of thought that like the nerds, you know, the nerds from the 80s before being nerds were cool, you know, they were way more conservative than we think they were. Like they were the kind of person who they hated the bullies that were bullying them, but wanted to be the bullies.
Yeah,
they didn't want to end the bullying. They wanted to be the bullies. And now, once we made being a nerd cool, you know, at some point in the 2010s, that flip definitely switched over. These people were like, "Oh, we're cool now, and also we're gonna start bullying people."
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened. It's exactly the fucking Andrew Tate thing that he said.
Andrew
where he was
Tate.
like, I walked by the guy driving the Porsche, and I was like, it's so unfair that this guy got set up for life. I had to crawl and scrape my way to get everything I have. And this guy gets to get born to his rich daddy, and he just gets a Porsche for his 16th birthday. And the conclusion I came to was, I need to be that rich and powerful and be the guy that's taking advantage of the system. It's like, fuck no. But like, that's the thing. You have to catch them there. You have to catch them at that inflection point because it diverges in two very different directions. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing a lot of struggles right now is because it used to be that people never got to that inflection point. The average American never started questioning the system. And so the liberalism worked. Mm-hmm. But that inflection point, the diverging pathways are no longer we're accepting the system and we're deciding what to do with it. It's the system is fucked. We either got to go this way or this way. And right now we are losing at that inflection point big time.
Yeah, that's I hadn't heard that from Andrew Tate. I didn't hear that clip, but that's very funny because I say that to make fun of people like Andrew Tate all the time. Where,
oh yeah, no, he said it. He said amazing. It straight up. Yeah, like I'm paraphrasing there, but that is what he said.
Because what I say, like Jordan Peterson is a slightly less insane version of Andrew Tate, trying to get people on the alt-right pipeline and everything. And the way it boils down with Jordan Peterson is he says, okay, the world is cruel, callous, indifferent, and comically unfair. Like that we know this, and it's setting up, and you're getting fucked over. And the solution to this problem is to take advantage of this and make it unfair in your favor. That's literally what they say. That you need to, blaze your path forward and don't end up on the bottom because it sucks to be on the bottom. But it demands that other people be there. And I'm so crazy said that out loud, how bad that is, because what you were talking about, John, with the nerds and how the nerds were had the sympathetic plight, in the 80s and everything like that. And now the nerds have, jobs and they're powerful or rich or successful, and they're just flipping it. But they didn't learn a lesson back then. They said, okay, now it's my turn to be cruel. This is something that on the left, people have this idea. I'm not saying it's prevalent, but I've seen it more than enough times where someone who is being victimized, they recognize that, okay, this person is being fucked over. This isn't fair. They're being victimized. And they assign virtue to that person because they're being victimized. No, like being a victim does not make you a good person. That is 100% true. Yeah, like people who are, in fact, being a victim, you may end up becoming a victimizer later. That's an actual psychological thing. And this is something that men will bring up because they'll say that, oh, when women are complaining about men, they're only talking about the small percentage of men who actually fuck, the guys who are actually getting on dates. And of course, they realize they have the skill and they can take advantage of women. They're not complaining about me, the nice guy who doesn't get any dates. And while that might be true, let's be real here. If you learn the skill to be like that guy, you would be that guy, right? So they're right in that sense that you're not trying to actually better yourself, which brings us back to the point earlier and how we can market this to get to men. What do these guys always say? They always pretend that I'm going to be the protector of women. I'm the guy who will be out there. The reason that women have to do what I say is because if someone breaks into the house, I'm going to go confront them, as if that's ever happened to 99% of these guys. Now, these guys haven't been in a bar fight. They wouldn't know how to take care of themselves anyway, but they like to cosplay as someone who fights and protects. Market that. Hey, look, this whole thing is about protecting the weak. It's about protecting widows and orphans, people who are disadvantaged. They need a champion. Can you rise up to the occasion? That's a great way to put this forward because it's true, right?
Yeah, it's actually funny if you go back and watch like Fight Club. Fight Club, I feel like, has been pointed to as one of those proto-fascist gateway fucking films, right? And it's like, the reason it does that is because it has a lot of those same talking points that fascists use to then indoctrinate people into cults, which is what the fucking movie's about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of what they are saying is very true. Like specifically, he has that line about you're not some unique special snowflake. That
right.
I'm pretty sure that's where the snowflake thing came from originally. I could be wrong about that.
I love that line. I always love that line.
It's a great line.
It's true. It's true.
It is true. And I feel like the left, like I mean this by like liberals, the left, the whole fucking kit and caboodle, is very afraid of that aesthetic. They're very afraid of masculinity. They're very and I'm trying to say this without being critical, but like
time verbalizing it properly.
We don't do a very when what you said, the fucking why isn't there very masculine coded people at the DSA meeting? It's selected against, like the people who are masculine coded, they are immediately discriminated against in leftist circles. And I don't mean that in the same way that I mean like, systemic oppression or whatever, but like, it doesn't surprise me that people who get into these circles start taking off the fucking Tims. They stop like talking about sports. They stop talking these traditions, like working out. Working out has become right wing coded. Like
that's so bad. That's so bad. I hate that
because there's this. It's the opposition. Like it's like, oh, those are the bad people who do this, so we shouldn't do that. And it's like, no, that's the wrong fucking lesson to be learned here. The bad people are doing this because it fucking works.
Yeah.
It's not like it's ideologically wrong to fucking work out, guys. It's not ideologically wrong to enjoy sports, but because it has that masculine coded energy, it pushes away a lot of the critical mass of people on the left that it becomes disadvantageous to carry that energy into those spaces. Even though there's so much better arguments to be made for why progressive left-wing ideology is far more masculine than right-wing ideology. Like all of the things that you said, we actually fucking protect women. We actually provide for our families. We look after the children. We like do all of these things. Better strength in numbers, fucking Planet of the Apes, apes alone weak, apes together strong. Like, that's very fucking masculine coded messaging. That's
Yeah.
also fucking socialist ideology. Like, it works. It can work, but so many people are afraid of it. And I don't know how to fix that, TJ. You know, like, I can do my part to welcome that. I've always been masculine coded in left-wing spaces. It has caused conflict occasionally, but like not enough to push me away. But I know that people who aren't as invested in being right as me do get pushed away by that shit. So, like,
maybe so, because I honestly, I don't know. I never, I mean, in a way, I kind of saw that. So when I had a different point of view, I'll get to yours soon. But when I would go to like DSA meetings and stuff, and the guys that I usually saw there were older. A lot of times, a lot of them were older. And none of them I would pick out as like, oh, that is like standard dude, like standard masculine guy or something. But I think that it self-selects in a different way. Like, you've mentioned this before, that if you are a man in the United States and you're masculine coded and you're successful and you're strong, you're a lot less likely to join a socialist organization, right? Why would you? You're doing fine, right? You're doing okay. And if you've been raised in the United States of America, that's an individualistic culture. You're not concerned with everyone else. You are concerned about you. That is a conservative message. It's like, think as insular as you possibly can. Don't worry about the rest of the community. Every man for themselves. You know, to take care of your own. Let them worry about themselves. I think that is what drives them away. First off, because the only kickback I ever got at all, being in like a socialist organization, I've been to them all. But the only kickback I ever got was one time. And I mentioned that I was in the military at the time, or just about to retire. And someone said, "Oh, you're in the military." I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Wow, pretty brave of you to come, a place like this." And my response was, "Buddy, I'm in the military. This is not the scariest thing I've ever done. Okay, like this is way down." And everybody laughed. It was a good chuckle. I've never got pushback for it. I think that a lot of it is online, like where people are incredibly obnoxious. But media, like, we've talked about before how many like vets we have coming on here and everything like that. I don't know if it's like an actual thing that's widespread outside of annoying people on Twitter.
So it's not so much. There's totally kickback, and it does happen. But like, I more so mean that it's not advantageous to be that. For example, if you look at like conservative circles, you look at rural America, you look at the aesthetics that people put on to signify that they are part of this community, right? Those hyper masculine aesthetics are associated with conservatism. And so you go to these, conservative groups, you will see a lot of those. I don't mean hyper, I just mean masculine fucking aesthetics. The people who get into progressivism, and you're a different case. And a lot of the vets that have come on the show, like yourself, did not start that way when they joined the military. When you joined the military, you were not here.
Right.
And so like that was part of you already when you started getting into all whereas a lot of people, they start getting into all of this in college. And the people who have those more masculine identities in college, your fucking frat boys, your fucking sports guys, all of those types of people, they don't join these groups. And the people who do, there's no reward for putting that aesthetic on. You're not trying to impress anyone by wearing a fucking sports jersey to your DSA meeting in the same way that you would going to your fucking frat house, And so like that's what I'm saying, is that the types of aesthetics that are rewarded in left-leaning progressive circles aren't very masculine. They just aren't. And so when random guy who's fed up with the system is like, I want to change it, and he's like, which one of these two groups seems like they'll be more inviting to me? It's not us. And again, I don't know how to fix that, because there's very good reasons for that, but it is something that needs to change, because it's not, we are punting these people away for no fucking reason. We're punting on second down with these people. And I don't know how to fix it, because I can do my part by being my normal fucking masculine self with the beard and the fucking whatever, but like it just doesn't necessarily translate in all of this, because I can only be in one space.
Yeah. And I guess I was just going through like, I don't know, situationship bias or whatever, because it's never been a problem for me. I don't know. I just never saw a kickback on it. But I think that, just the group of people who are attracted to there don't tend to look like that. I think it's more fear than I don't know. I've always wished this happened more because it always seems to work where you want someone like that in your group, right? Like you'll have some annoying people who are saying this to, be, oh, look how incredibly progressive I am that I will shit on this. But one thing I want to talk about was real quick because we're running out of time, but the weightlifting discussion. I couldn't believe this when I saw this, that's like one of the major flaws of the left-wing movement, that there's always someone looking for the most obscure caveat possible to prove how much study they've done and how much work. And so someone just putting out the message, hey, listen, working out, being physically active, being strong, this is a good idea. You should do this. The fascists are definitely doing it. Don't, like John said, don't cede these things over to the worst people in the country. That's not how you win the battle of ideas, by having all the fun. It's kind of like with guns, honestly, where guns are really fun and really cool. That's not going to change. All right. It's not going to. So if you say, well, owning a firearm makes you a bad person, all right, good luck. A lot of people aren't giving up those guns, so you can't do that. But yeah, there's ways to do it. I just think that it does take some effort on our side too. Like I think a lot of guys are just kind of cowards about this, that you really can't. You'll be fine. You'll be fine going up to a leftist organization and just being yourself. And I don't want to say it, but never mind. You'll be fine. Just trust me.
Wait. I want to know what you're going to say there, because I feel like it might have been what I was about to say.
I was going to say, and you're going to win. All right. It's like, listen, you go up there. Hey, just be strong, be loud, and be committed, be confident, and be principled. People love that shit. Like, conservatives will like that. I mean, the liberals like it, leftists like it. Of course, you'll have some fucking nerd, who has too much schooling and too much time on their hands, who's going to whine about it. That's going to be few and far between. Just be who you are, be strong, be confident. People will respond well to it, and it will help us in the long run. Was that what you were going to say?
So I will caveat that by saying that does not mean just walk into the situation with a big swinging dick and try to act like you are the most important person in the room, because that's not going to work for you. But just being yourself, being, as TJ said, principled, being confident in who you are, that will get you places, and it will make people like you more.
Yes,
that is the key to making people like you. And if they don't, that's just weeding them out, because not everyone's going to like you. And
it's
people who
fine.
Don't like you for that, that's fine.
It's fine.
You have to be okay.
Fine. Yeah.
And it's funny. Oh, go ahead, TJ.
No, please.
Well, I wanted to answer some of the comments because we have gotten quite a few. First of all, I just want to say, oh wait, no, that's not it. John, you said something. Oh yeah. Let me debate you clowns. John, I cannot be more specific with you about this. No one who you ever say, let me debate you, clown, is ever going to debate you, because I don't want to debate people. I want to have conversations, Sean. We've had many conversations. We've fucking banned you from the show multiple times because you spam our comments. That's not how you get people to talk to you. Just want to put that out there. Lovetron asked TJ, what did you do in the military? Since this is their Q&A show. TJ, how about you tell him?
Your mom. No. Okay, I did. I was an air and missile defense operator.
There you go. And then TD says, have you ever seen the MAGA hat before? People do wear their political affiliations as aesthetic all the time. You're being dense. I think he's responding to John, who's and I
don't get it.
These aren't aesthetics. These are just people being normal dudes. And honestly, as much as I disagree with a lot of what John says, that is exactly how they see it.
Being normal dude is an aesthetic. I mean, it's like, what?
But they genuinely see it. Like
they're the baseline, right?
If you drill deep down into the way they think, they're like, yeah, no, that's just normal. People just do that because that's what people do. All of the fucking colorful hair, being transgender, being any of these things that aren't normal, you must be putting that on as an aesthetic. That's genuinely how they think. They're like, all of these things, you guys are having colorful hair as an aesthetic, as a political symbol.
Yeah.
My fucking, my fucking plaid shirt that I'm wearing, that has no political meaning at all. I'm not wearing that for any reason other than because I'm just a normal person, and that's what normal people do. But the thing is, most people don't think about these things. Most people don't think about how they dress, how they act, what music they watch or listen to, what TV shows they watch. They don't understand that the reason they're doing so is greatly influenced by the type of people that they want to attract into their lives.
Yeah.
Like they genuinely don't understand this. And it is something that I didn't understand when I was younger. And having understood this, it has helped me understand a lot about myself and made me a more successful person. But most people don't think that deep into it. Most people are just like, yeah, I like, I don't know, fucking Star Wars, because that's what normal people like. I'm not thinking about it too much. I don't think about why I like it. I'm not interrogating why I'm doing these things. I'm just doing them because that's what normal people do.
Well, it's kind of like when people criticize identity politics. It's always my favorite thing because I have news for everyone. All politics are identity politics. There is no such thing as non-identity politics, because what people consider identity politics is usually racial politics or gender politics or immigrant. I don't know. That's anything that doesn't focus on like white Christian stuff, because that's not identity politics. That's not, saying God bless America or talking about decent tax paying Americans, like all the shit that's coded for white Christian America. That's just regular conversation. Colin Kaepernick, the NFL, doing the pledge of allegiance, but the national anthem and putting your hand over your heart. That's not identity politics. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, though, that is identity politics. And so, people's point of view is just here's normal. This is what is okay. Everything outside of that, outside of their specific experience, that's identity politics. All right, we got to wrap it up. We didn't even pick topics for Thursday, but I guess we got time. Who do we have?
We got time.
Thursday?
Who do we have on Thursday? That's
I think it's Serafina.
Oh, is it Serafina? Oh, it is Serafina. And then Keegan's the following.
No, it's Serafina, and then next weekend. Oh, it's Wiseacre this weekend. Serafina,
and then Keegan.
Shit, I don't know. Hold on,
guys. By the way, if anyone wants to be an administrator for the left wing, the spot is wide open because we really suck at this.
I put Luke B down twice, but I know he was last week, so I think Serafina's the 27th, and Wiseacre's this week. That's what we have.
Yes or no question before we wrap up the show.
Sure.
Given the recent events, with Canadian sports and booing the national anthem, if you are going to go to a sporting event, should you boo the national anthem?
I wouldn't boo the national anthem. I don't see what does it matter? I don't see any good that comes out of it on my side. Like, how could it benefit me? And it doesn't matter if I boo or cheer. I wouldn't cheer, cheer anyway. But no, I wouldn't recommend that, because this is another thing that if we want people to come to the left, the whole flag waving Captain America Star Spangled shit, it works. People like it. You're not going to win any national movement by saying the United States sucks. This is a terrible nation. It should never exist. Never going to happen. Like, you actually have to meet people. Your average person is going to be turned off by that big time. So no, I would not recommend anybody boo the national anthem. I think that's bad ideas, bad politics.
All right, we got his answer. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll be back on Thursday at 6:30 EST with wonderful guest Wiseacre. See you guys then.
Later, folks. All right.